This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, your community access media station. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.
Hi, welcome to Life Coaching with Gail. We are August 2024 and we have sunshine. So sunshine after cold weather and rain is like a breath of fresh air. I went for a walk in the park on Saturday and everybody, because of the sunshine, everyone was out enjoying the, playground, the walking, the park, even though water was still lying around after the rain. And I think that there are certain things that are metaphors for our life. I like to think that that is one. For any one of you who have been through the storm, who've had a real troubled year this year, even though it might still feel like there's stuff lying around, stuff unfinished, the sun's out, and that means the sun is coming out in your life too. If you haven't felt it, then the sun is coming out. And I've had this little song for the last month and a half going into my head. I just, how things pop into your head sometimes. And I'm not a musical person. I'm not a person who knows songs as such. And we never had music of any kind growing up. We were able to listen to the news, and we all had to be very quiet when the news was on. And then that was about it until television came along, and we were late getting a TV. It was black and white back then, and I can remember the programs that we were allowed to watch over a period of time. One of them was Lassie, about a dog, a collie, and I liked that. And so the music that was on those shows was pretty much the music that we had. Apart from going to Sunday school, we had hymns. I used to love the hymns, and I can always remember my mum would actually sing them in quite a strong voice. Not that she had a necessarily musical voice, but I always remember her being brave and strong in her singing. And so that was the extent of the musical stuff that we had in our lives. But occasionally in my life, as I've been older, that I've had these songs or words of songs that would pop into my head, and I would actually recognise them because in my adult life I did hear songs, listen to songs. People would say, "Do you know this song?" And I would go, "No." So I would pay a bit more attention to it. And then I had partners in my life that perhaps liked music in the last 20-odd years. So, so I got more interested in learning about songs, or at least listening to words. Titles escape me. The singers, their names also escape me. But the one that I had about 6 weeks ago was the one that says, "Walking in the sunshine, singing a little sunshine song." And I didn't rhyme that very well, but that's the extent of my rhythm a little bit too. So it's something I have practiced and worked on, I will say. And it's seemingly irrelevant. And yet, if you get words that pop into your head of a song, they are a message for you. They're a message for you in your life with what is actually happening in your life. So for me to get those words, walking in the sunshine, singing a little sunshine song, was a little bit of a contradiction to what my life was going through and had been like for a couple of months. And so it gave me a little bit of a, that's what I'd like to be able to do. That's what I'd like to be doing. And I mean, we have actual sunshine in the last few days, which is the promise, people, of spring in your life. It's the promise of spring in our climate, and it's the promise of spring, new things, new growth, new situations, new opportunities coming into your life for you to take hold of and experience. And these are always ones that lift you up, because that's what spring does. It's the newborn lambs. It's that new bulb. It's the new growth, the new leaves that come out after the winter and autumn have been. It's just a little spark of hope. And we talked a little bit about hope the last time, but the hope is essential. And if you look for hope and there is no hope, and believe me, I understand, keep looking and hoping for hope, because there is hope that will show up at some point in time, and it could be in the smallest of things, it could be in the simplest of things. And last time I actually said, look at the little things around you that kind of like a random. And I said to you about the dove that was just at the side of the footpath walking around and didn't fly away, just walked around, and I stopped and it just still was walking around, and it didn't seem that it had anywhere to go. Years ago, I was told that if a dove is anywhere, particularly if it's on its own, if there is a dove that you see, it is a message of peace and love. It's a message of hope. It goes all the way back to biblical times. It is a message for you. It is directly a message for you to not give up, that there is more, that there is promise in your life for better things. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about relationships, because particularly this year, relationships have been under the spotlight. They have been, because they involve two people, whatever your gender, two people have personal sets of problems, issues, baggage, as in unresolved issues. Even if you have done a lot of personal work, perhaps your partner has not done a lot of personal work. And this year, pressure has been put on. So the pressure this year, because it's a year where successes are almost magical, that successes can be achieved beyond your expectations. Because of all of that, it's the perfect year for resolutions, for if you have had a problem, for that problem to have a solution. So the mechanism that gets you to success is, first, there's pressure, which means maybe you've been undergoing a lot of stress for a couple of years. Maybe your partner's been undergoing a lot of stress for a couple of years. And this year, it comes to a head. This year, it comes to a point where enough, this must be resolved. Plus, everything in your life that has added to your pressures of today need to also be resolved. So a lot of you will have gone through or known people that have gone through problems in their relationship, where one or both partners are having problems communicating, working things out, carrying out plans, things just perhaps resulting in upheaval or complete change. And it could be one partner, or it could be the other, or it could be both. It could be you, or it could be someone else. And it's not just close, intimate relationships I'm talking about. I'm talking about family members. That it may be you and a sibling. It could be you and a friend that you've had for years and things go wrong and maybe you don't know why that's happened. It's because resolution, success, results need to happen this year. And you have a part to play in all of this. And you can either have this as something that is chaotic, dramatic, or you can choose to have it where it is an opportunity to observe a person who perhaps is having difficulties, a partner who is perhaps having difficulties, and observe them in a way where you are looking underneath their actions, underneath their words, underneath their behaviours, to a place where you could say more soul level, but somewhere deeper within them where there is a lot of fear, uncertainty, unresolved aspects of their previous life, which, is this life, previous life. And sometimes it can go back to childhood experiences. It can go back to relationship experiences and sibling relationship experiences. We have a whole lot of different aspects that we've kind of like gathered up this whole bag of hurt. We've all done this. Hurt, unanswered questions around why did that happen? Why me? What's going on? It is what's so bad about me that I deserve this, but you don't deserve this. And as a child, you may have unconsciously felt you did deserve it. It is something that I know that I, as a child, felt that we were told, you get what you deserve, and often it was punishment. So you begin to believe there is something about you that attracts these situations to you that are unjust or unfair, or that you must be such a horrible person that is why these things are happening to you. And my darlings, I am telling you that is not the case. It is absolutely not the case. You are worthy. You are as deserving as every other human being on the planet. You were created equal. Our experiences often may mislead us into thinking that we are less deserving because we are less privileged or we have less than somebody else. The reality is not that at all. It is nothing to do with that. Look at Oprah. Look at all of the iconic figures that we have on the planet and have had in history on the planet. They did not necessarily have a privileged life. They had hard lives. They had lives where they were, some of them were out working at 12, looking after their family. They didn't have education. And yet they became the Einsteins of the world, the people that gave us electricity. It was later on education was able to be had, or it was later on in their lives that they found their calling and they went down that path and that direction and learned what they could, but what their motivation was, where it came from, was because they didn't have much, because their life was tough and their life was hard, and it gave them that motivation to strive to be as good as they could be, to do as well as they could do, not necessarily for money and fame and glory. Sometimes, yes. But mostly the ones that I remember, like Mandela, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Oprah, like many of them, and I don't mean to exclude any, it's just the names that came to mind. They were humble. They did not seek wealth. Wealth found them if it found them. And it could have found all of them. But ones like Mother Teresa gave all and everything to human beings, because human beings, for all of these people, are the most important asset on the planet. And that means you are an asset. Never forget that you are an asset. Never forget that you are unique. You have something that nobody else on the planet has. You may not have discovered it yet. As far as I knew in my life, and for a big part of my life, even up to 40, was that I didn't really have anything to contribute to the world, that I had nothing that was interesting or informative or, I don't know, different in any particular way. And I have a little inkling that maybe the things I know can be useful and helpful. And that gives me my sense of purpose, I suppose. Just that ability to be able to share it. So I never sought out to be on radio. I never sought out to be on YouTube. I didn't imagine for a million years that I could even ever possibly speak out loud to any kind of audience. It is something that just naturally happened and that I was open to, that even though I had those worries, doubts, thoughts that, I couldn't speak, or that it wasn't worth speaking because, who would listen, who would care. I was taught a lot of things in my early life that became irrelevant in my growing up life. And more within me, I find there is a need to speak and say things regardless of whether they are heard, regardless of whether anyone may find them helpful. It is something within me that I just feel we need to speak more, we need to communicate more. I look down the generations now as a great-grandparent and I can see what has been lost, in my day type of thing. And that is so true. It is so true. And I've said this before, but one of my biggest shocks was learning that kindness and caring was being taught in preschools, because I had not realised it wasn't being taught in the home. I hadn't realised that people weren't naturally understanding to get somewhere in life. Being kind helps you get there. Being caring to another person helps another person to help another person, or to help you back in return. It was a bit of an eye-opener to know that it needed to be taught. And that showed me what we had lost, not just in that aspect, but in a lot of other aspects. And so I call on you, if you are not the older generation in particular, you are useful, you are helpful, you are needed. Your life experiences, your values, your morals, your life learnings, and everything you've been involved with in your life, and is so essential. It is so needed right now on the planet. So I would encourage you, and anybody actually, I would encourage you to find some way where you can lay that out, write it down, record things. If you have parents, grandparents, please record their recollection of experiences, and when they're talking about family members. And, I did a little bit of this before my mum passed, because when my dad passed, I had encouraged him to write things down, and he had a computer, and he was writing things down on the computer, and he didn't get as far as to the age that he was. He only got to about the age of 17 from recollection, and he found it a little bit laborious to write, but he was writing it in as much detail as he could remember. And I found, after my mum passed, it was just before my mum passed, that I found the hard drive. I had been looking for it for my brother the year before, but he passed, and I wasn't able to allow him to be able to retrieve the information on it. So I'm just encouraging you. So after my dad passed away, I actually thought, I wished I'd recorded his voice. I wished I'd actually thought to record his life situations and experiences, instead of him having to sit there in front of a computer and laboriously tap out parts of his childhood. So with Mum, I attempted to do that. I attempted to make recordings. And you know how hard sometimes it is to catch someone talking without them knowing that you're recording them, because you want them to be themselves, authentic. You just want it to come across really smoothly and easily. Not such an easy task. But I had this beautiful, I've gone through quite a few storms lately in my life recently, and I just managed for some reason to find this one. I put Mum on it, and a butterfly, and my mum in later years called me her butterfly, which was the greatest compliment and probably the only one I can actually really remember my mother giving me. And she was talking in this recording, and I listened to it because Mum had gone, and it was just lovely to hear her voice. And she was talking about the actual butterfly and the fact that it had two separate sets of DNA. One, which was, of course, the caterpillar aspect of the butterfly, and the DNA that was the butterfly. And just listening to her reading this out, I only had a small portion of it. But I tell you what, just hearing her voice talking about something was pretty magic. So I encourage you, if you're older, please write it down, record it. Your phone will record it. Get someone to help you. It is the best way to record anything these days. But if you are a grandchild, a great-grandchild, a son, a daughter, capture your mum, your nana's, your great-nana's voice, because it's gone once they're gone, but it brings you back such comfort if you can hear them again in that relaxed way where they just are being themselves and talking about something important to them, something in their life. It's a kind of magic, and we love magic. 2024 is the year of magic and magical things, of success, of joy, and I get it. there has been storms, there have been towers, there have been absolute void aspects that will lead you to success this year. Just got to ride the storm. You will get through it. We are almost through it, and you will be through it before the end of the year. I'll be back.